Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed joins us right now. Senator Reed, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
So the Israeli defense team, diving right into this, they're really sticking to ground operations to save hostages. In your military experience, is that the best way to handle this?
Well, they have to get detailed intelligence to identify a location where hostages are held, and then they have to use special operations techniques, send in small groups of well-trained soldiers to go in there and release the hostages. But they're pursuing this very vigorously, trying to identify and extract all the hostages.
Yeah, they know what they're doing in this type of scenario.
Well, they are, but it's so much rest on intelligence.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've seen so many protests here at home calling for a ceasefire. So you just went overseas and, you were there firsthand. What is your message to constituents who are calling for that ceasefire?
Well, I think the ceasefire has to be accepted by both sides. Hamas is not really talking about a ceasefire. And they're not really talking about making significant concessions in order to get a ceasefire, which would be the release of hostages or some type of commitment not to use force against Israel. So I think what's happened, though, is that we understand, and President Biden has been very aggressive talking to Prime Minister Netanyahu, that there has to be humanitarian considerations, a pause to allow civilians to leave the fighting area. It's not a ceasefire, but it's an opportunity to allow Palestinians to leave, access health care, access shelter and food. And that's something that I think has to be pursued vigorously.
And kind of along the same lines there, protesters actually interrupted one of your events this week. They were calling for you to call for a ceasefire. We have a clip of that real quick.
Jack Reed and Sheldon Lighthouse are supposed to serve ceasefire now!
So very emotional. I mean, you can see people are very wound up about this. They're concerned about the civilians on the ground. 5 hours after that happened, your office did release a memo calling for pauses in fighting for humanitarian aid. Did you cave to the pressure, or, the timing was kind of suspicious?
No, I have been in conversations in Israel with Prime Minister Netanyahu, also discussions with the president. We just had a meeting on Wednesday evening for about 2 hours, myself and some of my colleagues, is that both from a humanitarian standpoint and from a counter-Hamas strategy, you have to go ahead and help the Palestinian people. You want to divide the Palestinian people from Hamas. You don't want them to support them, even just tolerate them. If you don't do that, then Hamas will never really be destroyed. It might be succeeded by another terrorist group. And I think that's the way to proceed. I also recognize and respect the fact that in this country people get the opportunity to protest and to talk to their representatives and their senators. Sometimes the conversation is a little loud, but that's okay. That's America.
All right, so obviously this is still an ongoing situation, some movement now, but I'm sure this is not the last time we will speak to you about this issue. Thank you for providing that insight after your recent trip to the Middle East.